Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sriram. I'm from Infosys. I manage the energy business for Infosys, and I also manage AI across multiple sectors of Infosys. Today, we are going to be talking about a very fundamental problem that we are seeing. We are seeing so many AI pilots in the industry. We are seeing so many data plus AI pilots across the industry, across every industry. One of the biggest challenges that we have been having is how are we scaling these initiatives of modernization as it applies to data, as it applies to AI? How industry leaders are accelerating adoption of AI-ready Lakehouse. That's the topic we are going to speak about today. And we are going to take a very industry operator-centric view of things. Today, you're going to see two esteemed clients of us joining us in that panel. One is BP, other is Oxy. Both of them are tremendous technology operators. They are at the forefront of technology innovation as it applies to AI, as it applies to data. And my co-panelists are going to be talking about their experiential learnings of what they have done with data, what they have done with AI in the industry. And we'll have 5-10 minutes of question answers at the end of the session. It's a 30-minute panel, 35 minutes panel. So we'll have some 4 or 5 questions, which will go around the panelists. And then we'll have time for the audience to ask questions. So please hold your thought in terms of the questions that you have. With that, let me invite Patrick Bangert from Oxy. He's the Chief AI and Digital Officer at Oxy. Patrick, please. And from BP, we have Julie Nguyen joining us. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Thanks, Patrick. And I'm going to put their faces, all our faces, so that you can remember our names as we are talking through this today. So I get the center stage. Wonderful. So, Patrick, just for the audience, if you could give a brief introduction of yourself, what you do, what you drive in Oxy, your role, please.
Yeah, hi. Good to be here. Thanks for having me. Thank you for spending some 40 minutes with us here. My name is Patrick. I work for Occidental Petroleum, short Oxy, which is an upstream oil and gas company. That means we drill holes in the ground and bring the oil to the surface. Everything else is taken care of by others. And within that company, I deal with everything to do with AI. So I'm the Chief AI Officer. We build out the programs to both create our own AI models, to create the software that deploys them, to do the change management that ultimately sees the value delivery of that. And we are primarily looking to create additional revenue. So our source of value is principally more barrels. Not so much cost saving or workforce efficiency, because as a physical company, that where most of the costs and the productivity are in machines and assets, that's where we're headed.
Thanks, Patrick. Julie, over to you.
My name is Julie Nguyen. I am with BP, and we are a global energy company. What does that mean? It means that we also drill the hole. We gotta dig up the oils, but then after that, the oil and gas, and after that, it's go through the refining process, and it's also go through the midstream, and then we also have trading and retail business. For us, AI and now data is everything, right? So for us, it's not about, if we miss something, it's not about miss a quarter, but it's more than an incident that we have to take care of. It's about the miscalculation of the allocation of our resources. So AI now is on top of our agenda.
Great. So with that, I'll begin with my first question. This is for both the panelists. So I'll begin with you, Julie, for this one, right? Oil and gas as a sector is typically thought of as a very legacy industrial sector, right? Things change much slowly compared to a digitally native sector like a healthcare or financial services. So, what is making, in your opinion, modernization urgent in the oil and gas industry?
So if you're looking at the oil and gas industry, right, for us, the system that we have, right, the data that we have is always silo. If you're looking at from the moment that we try to find the oil underground or in the ocean, right, all the way until we can produce that oil and put that into the end users, everything is very silo. Okay. So you have the drilling, you have the production, you have the reservoir, you have the maintenance management, and later on the logistic. All that stuff is we're looking at quite silo, and for that the modernization of the organization become very hard. How we put everything together, right? Because AI is not about one silo thing. AI is about your data in your organization, looking across the organization.
Okay, thank you. Patrick, your thoughts?
I would push back a little bit on the premise of the question, if I may be a contrarian.
Sure.
You got to know what the core of your business is, right? So as an upstream oil and gas company, the core of your business is to drill wells and bring oil to the surface. We're not a software company. We're not a digital company. So if you come to an oil company with a new turbine or a compressor or a pump or a new steel for better pipelines, it'll be adopted almost immediately. If you come with new software, that's not the core of the business. And so that will be a little bit slowed down. And yes, absolutely, our data is siloed for good reason, because we slowly adopted a software in the 1990s, and we will diligently operate that till today. And therefore, the silos have appeared and now need to be solved.
Okay. A follow-up to that, Patrick. Is there then a need for the industry? You're focusing on barrels, cost per barrel. You're not focused on the below-the-line things like efficiency, productivity, because those are very small percentage for a company like Oxy or BP, right? So if that is going to be the case, is AI going to generate more above-the-line opportunities for you? What I mean by above-the-line is revenue generation opportunities, new business development opportunities, reducing the cost per barrel. Is AI going to generate? Will that modernization has to happen for that?
In my opinion, yes. So AI, I think, now is in a position where it can be a revenue generator. Or for Oxy, it already is. So it actually produces incrementally more oil than without AI. And in that sense, it reduces the cost per barrel because you're dividing more barrels by the same cost. And so it looks like it's reducing it. But we're not a cost reduction agent, right? We're a barrel creation agent. So it's a very different lens on the same thing. But to make AI operational at a company like this, yes, you have to break the silos. You have to modernize your data infrastructure, basically put it all in one place, some sort of cloud, managed by some sort of one pane of glass to look at that, and that could be a certain company starting with a D, I think it is. So to be able to have that visibility, that is a necessary precondition. But as I'm sure we'll get to, it is not enough yet, right? You then have to actually do the AI bit, and then the most important is the change management to get your field personnel to do it.
Yeah, I think Patrick, when we were discussing with him offline, he was sharing a very interesting bit of information. We have always seen our customers talk about AI in the context of how it improved productivity, efficiency, operating margin, things like that, but below the line, as I call it. Patrick was mentioning a figure. I'll let him take that thunder on that one, on what he has been able to drive above the line for Oxy. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to mention actual numbers in public. I'm sorry,
That's
but
okay.
it's a significant amount of revenue that AI is able to generate for us.
Yeah, so there are actual use cases that are being implemented in AI in the data space, which has driven across industries. We have seen that in financial services. We have seen in enterprise clients like BP, Oxy, when we work with other big clients like ExxonMobil. because of the quantum of the revenue that is being spoken about here, these are all hundreds of billions of dollars companies, right? So even a 1% improvement is $1 billion addition, right? Imagine the quantum of that. So that's the kind of scale that Patrick was talking about. So it's extremely important to apply AI in the context of above-the-line opportunities than just focusing on workforce and productivity. Back to you, Julie. In your context, in BP's context, what does modernization really require to practice it at enterprise scales, right?
At the enterprise case, right, for us, for BP specifically, back to the silo, right? We're talking about the AI, and for AI to be good, your data has to be the foundation of everything. If you have your data that not together, right? Your data is not quality data, your data that don't have the context, and then the outcome of your AI, the result of the AI will not there. So for us, and for me as a data engineer, right, I care very, very much about the data foundation. And I see that from the enterprise level, right? Before you can do any scale, right? It's good that you do a POC here and a POC there, right? But talking about at the scale, what we need to do first is always take the data governance in consideration, right? So you have to put in a process. You have to make your data talk to each other. You have to develop a context of your data, and then we can talk about AI. Yes.
Okay, so you have to build the data foundations first.
Yes.
What next?
Once you have the data foundation, and the data foundation will start not with the data engineer. It's the whole company together. With the data foundation, we're talking about the structure, right? How do you make all your silo data talk together, right? Put that into the foundation, have the governance process on top of it, right? Build your data context, build what we call the AI data readiness, right? Make sure that you look at it not only in a snapshot, but it's also continuously, right? Because if you're looking at from the just a snapshot, your data quality change, your data change, right? Your data change every second, right? And then you have to continue to look at the data foundation, build your data foundation, and then on top of that will be your Genie, it will be your AI. Yes.
Wonderful. Thanks, Julie. Patrick, as a follow-up to you, Julie spoke about the data foundation elements of it, the data engineering elements of it. How are you approaching this problem at Oxy? Because in oil and gas, we all understand there are different types of data, right? There are data that is residing in your relational databases, transactional data, which resides operating systems data, all of that resides. Then over and above that, you have seismic data, you have well logs, you have with some DLS, last data, different types of data sources. So when you have those kind of different dimensions of data, how do you prepare that data foundation and eliminate those data islands that Julie was talking about? How are you approaching that problem?
I mean, ultimately, that's the purpose of a data lake or a data lakehouse, is to be able to have multiple kinds of data that reside in even more systems ready for you. So for instance, we have physical sensors in the field that measure pressure and flow rate and temperature and things like that. Those would be measured every so often. Those that I mentioned maybe every couple of minutes. Then vibrations might be measured many times per second. Things like the weather might only be measured once an hour or once every couple of hours. So you have a very different time cadence. So the things that you measure seldom go into a regular database. The things you measure a lot go into a special dedicated time series database. They live in different areas because some of the things are out of normal network range. So you have different databases that are on premise that sometimes get updated via satellite, this and that networking involved. So you have multiple databases just to cover those industrial sensors. And then we have drones that have cameras on them. We have field cameras that stream live, many of them, right? And then of course you can't retain a 24/7 streamed video from tens of thousands of cameras anywhere, and pay for the storage bill. So that's basically a throughput and lost kind of a situation. So you have AI in the middle to analyze that. So all these things are happening. And that's what a data lakehouse is there for you to resolve, is you have all this stuff, and how do you put that into, again, one place that has one pane of glass. So you still have the silos, but it's like they're glass silos, right? So you can look through all of them, and that's what the lakehouse is there to do. And it does that wonderfully.
Does it help with your unstructured data as well? Documents, that could be PDFs, scanned documents?
Yes, absolutely. We have lots of documents. They're also stored as files in a system. But at that point, it's probably good to mention metadata. Right, so everything has certain metadata. So for instance, for a time series, I have to know which sensor it was that gave rise to this thing, where it's located. Maybe there's a latitude, longitude coordinate where this thing is. For a document, like who wrote it, when it was written, is there a version 2, 3 of this document with red lines or whatever? So that metadata is essential, and that allows us to get some of this context that was mentioned, right? So I have to be able to place that in context. And then I can say, okay, I have a time series measurement, I have a picture, I have a document, and they actually belong to the same thing. And now I can analyze that whole thing as a holistic entity and come to some sort of an AI conclusion.
Wow. That's a very interesting problem to solve. Following up on that, Julie, see, historically we have seen there is seismic data, there is data from geoscience, from geology, then you have production systems data, the drilling data that you have available. Each of them are sitting in different silos, right? So when you're building the data foundation and when you have the data lakehouse estate as well, are the silos becoming better with advent of platforms like Databricks and what the Lakehouse and Unity and Genie and some of the newer things, technology that is emerging, is that making the industry's problem much more manageable in terms of the quantum, the volume of data that you're managing?
Definitely. As you see with the Lakehouse, right? We don't really care where the data is stored. You can have your data in S3 buckets or in Azure ADOS Gen 2, or you can leave your data in the system of record. With Unity Catalog, you can pull everything together, right? You can have your Delta share. If you can have federated catalog, you can pull all the sources together. So in BP, what we have is, since we're a global company, so you name something, I'm pretty sure somewhere in BP, we have that tool set, we have that technology. But that's why the silo happened in the past. It's really hard for us to pull all that data that you're talking about, right? From geospatial to our map data, to our drilling data, to patrol, to tech logs, it's quite difficult. But with Unity Catalog, right, with the Lakehouse, we now have all the sources. It's still not speaking the same language though, right? But at least we have everything together, and now we do the next step. Yes.
Okay. How do you see this play out? It's the same answer that Julie had?
Yeah, what she said.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's perfect. That makes my job easier.
Yeah.
Right, so see, what are the biggest challenges that you face in getting your organization ready for these kind of modernization data AI initiatives? I'll start with you, Patrick. What are the biggest challenges from an organizational perspective that you see? Because it's never about the technology, right? Technology is there, all the answers are out there. It's about what questions and the human elements that are involved. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean, the first problem for companies like us is that this is not the core of the business, right? So the vast majority of people around an oil company do not come from a software background, a computer science background. I'm a mathematician, there are very few of us. they typically come from an engineering background, a physical engineering background, like mechanical, chemical, reservoir engineering background, right? So that's the first thing to realize. So when you come along with all sorts of IT acronyms, nobody understands them, right? So when I first arrived and I talked about AI, I got questions about acoustic impedance. And that's not even a joke, right? So I had to make clear that when I'm talking, AI means artificial intelligence and not acoustic impedance or acid integrity. So that's the kind of, you have to level set, right? And again, speak their language, not teach them your language, but you have to learn their language and adopt that. And also, for example, again, field engineers, they will not care whether your data storage is like in a tier 1 or in glacial storage or in S3. They're like, what is that? Yeah, it's a hard drive, right? Yes, it's a hard drive. It's okay. So you have to meet them where they're at, which is the use case that they ultimately want to put this to. Like, okay, so there's this complicated IT stuff happening, and what I need here is I need a notification on my phone that I can understand and drive to a coordinate and act on it. That's what you need to deliver, and that's important. So meet them where they're at, I think, is the key challenge for us. Now, for them, the key challenge is changing workflows. So really, it's re-engineering the corporation, right? They've been doing something in a certain way for a long, long time, and a new tool will change that way of working. The question is how. And the problem, the challenge, is that most of the people just don't want to, right? They've been doing it that way for a long time. It feels comfortable. It feels safe. You know, we humans hate change for good reason. So we have to persuade them why the change is good for them. So that's a big lesson I've learned over these last few years, is telling people why it's good for the company to do this doesn't matter. You have to explain to these people why it's good for them individually. Yeah? How is your life better with this AI thing? Right? They don't care what's better for the company, doesn't, yeah. And if you have that constructive conversation with people, then you're onto something. And then, of course, the third challenge is all of this lumped together over a large group of people is called change management. You know, so you're effectively having that conversation a lot, which means the AI program has to have staff and budget to have that conversation with the many, many users across the company, and that usually gets ignored. So, you know, as a rough rule of thumb, I would say whatever you spend on creating the tech, that amount of money, you need that again, the same order of magnitude money for change management.
Wow, that's a big reveal. Thank you for that. So, Julie, how do you see this? How do you manage this at a company of BP scale with your complexities? And you're, at least they are just on the upstream side of things. You are upstream, midstream, you have downstream as well, and you have a commercial trading function as well.
Yes, it is a journey. Yes, it is a journey, and we just at the start of it. Okay. I totally agree with Patrick. Change management is everything, and education, and teaching and knowledge. We start small, right? In BP, we start small. We first start with the introduction, right? We roll out Copilot so people can see with their day-to-day, right? From email, from presentation creation, from your Excel spreadsheets, they can see the power of AI that help in their day-to-day. And then we roll out something small from the business processes to a small group of people and see how the reaction, right? How the team take it, how the engineers that are out on the field, because you know, believe it or not, they are not like us. They not sit in the office and then they can go on 5 different AI tools, right, together at one time. Right? Some don't have laptop, right? Some don't work with a tablet either. They just only have their phone. So how do you even roll out your AI solution to them? So it is a journey, totally. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So Julie, this question again comes to you. What do you think leaders should do first in modernizing their enterprise for a AI-ready era, right? What do the leaders need to do first?
In BP, I think I see our leader, they set example, right? They set example in the technologies organizations, right? Our CIO first, when we start talking about AI, about Claude Code, right? About a cursor, about that, right? He actually the one who used that, right? He's one of the first one who actually used that in his personal and also in the business context, right? And then when your leader sets an example, I can see a change in our workforce, From a business standpoint, right? When you can see a few use cases, right? A few teams that roll out their solution, and you can see the optimization, you can see the dollar amount, like what Patrick mentioned in the beginning, you can see the change in people. But again, it is a journey, and we're just at the beginning of that journey.
So
Yes.
can I phrase it as leadership by example
Yes.
from your senior leaders?
Yes.
And some initial quick wins, right?
Initial quickly, yes.
Okay. So Patrick, you may have something to comment on these two dimensions. So what should leaders do? I know you're a contrarian when it comes to quick wins, just so that you guys are aware. So I'll let Patrick take that. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm a big fan of design thinking that I would recommend. So Amazon calls it working backwards, which gives you kind of the theme, right? So the idea is you start by thinking what will happen when I'm done. What does it look like, this beautiful new world, when this initiative is finished or mature? And then work to the present from that future state. What do I need to do now? What do I need to do in a year and 2 years to ultimately achieve that big dream that we just came up with, right? And dreaming big is one of the things, so I like to start big, sorry. The other thing is, though, that you need to align that vision with everybody involved, which is the hard part, right? Dream big, that can happen in minutes in your own mind, right? But then to align that vision across all the C-level leaders and VP leaders and so on at the company and get them to sign off on a common vision, that's the hard part. But that's what design thinking involves, right? You run workshops with these people to discover everybody's vision, look for the commonalities, argue out the differences until you have a common shared and agreed vision. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge is when everybody starts changing their mind about that vision. But that would be my starting point. But leading by example to use the tools is definitely also has been shown to be super, super helpful. And especially where Gen AI is concerned, we've done the same thing, right? We've gotten all the senior leaders to vibe code and to say so in public, so to encourage everybody else in the company to do the same.
Sure. This is my last question to both of you. What do you need from a technology partner like Databricks and a consulting services partner like Infosys in this journey as you go through this? What do you need from us? What do we need to be cognizant of? What should we be working towards in making your life easier?
Exactly that, the life easier part, right? So I like to refer to it as a no worries solution, right? We need the tech to just work, okay? So again, we're not a software company, we're not a tech company. We want to use AI to solve problems. Data and everything connected to data is a little bit like the crude oil, right? We're like the refinery for that crude oil, but what we actually want is we want to use the stuff to achieve real things. I mean, again, in the oil context, it'd be called propulsion, right? You want to move something from A to B. I want to move things from A to B. I don't want to worry about the road surface that I'm moving on, right? So I need that to just work.
Make it easier for you.
Yeah.
Julie, your thoughts?
I am not only needed to work, but I need it to work in the long run as well. Okay,
Yes.
so, yes, right. And I also need the operational and the support of the role that you have, right? Because the role, like Patrick said, right? Sometimes you see pothole, right? Sometimes there are the road that in front of BP in Houston, it took more than 10 years and they're still working on it, right? Right? It's a long journey. We want it to be faster, right? We want it to be supportable, and we want it to be, I know that nowadays, every day we wake up, there is a new solution. There is a new AI, right? We want what we have is a little stable to support an old business like us, right? We don't like to change. Okay? We know that we have to change, but it's so fast. Every day, something. We haven't even done the solution. There is new thing out there, right? That faster, that quicker, and then make us, especially engineer, software engineer, data engineer, right? We always want to chasing what's the new thing, what's the next thing, what's the next thing. But our business is not operate like that, right? So things that work, stable, right, and cost less.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.